Hello and welcome to the Miko Bits show, and I'm your host, Miko Bits. And today we have Jesse from Splinterlands, which is a very exciting collectible card game experience online. It's of course all blockchain powered, and it's part of a very exciting and engaging frontier in the blockchain gaming space. So, I think we'll hear a lot more and get a lot more details about Splinterlands from Jesse. So I guess without further ado, here's Jesse. So, hey, welcome.
Hey, Mika. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with your audience.
Okay, absolutely. So, I guess we're all excited to learn. And I guess the first big, easy question is, what is Splinterlands?
Sure. Splinterlands is a trading card game, and it's built on top of blockchain technology. And, most people are familiar with blockchains. Most people are familiar with trading card games. Not everybody understands what it means to be both. So if you're not familiar with trading card games, think like Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, something in that list you probably have heard before. There are all these cards with different abilities, and you battle with them and they fight. And in our case, because we use blockchain, we get some special, unique abilities that are powered by the technology. So, for example, the game is digital, which means that they can play 24/7. But you own NFTs. So kind of like the old days where you would have a card, now you actually have ownership of something. You have like a card, it's in your wallet, you can transfer it, sell it, play with it, use it, rent it. You actually have this token, this thing that is your property. And then lastly, you have the ability to earn. And that's really new because, maybe if you were in like the Magic Pro Tour or something, you might have a chance at earning something. And if you play some free-to-play games, you might earn something, but they have no value. Here, it's all blockchain based. So when you earn cards and you earn in-game currency, these things can be traded on markets for fiat and other cryptocurrencies. So you're actually earning something of value. So it's this nice interface of, familiar trading card game, add in some cool blockchain technology, and that's what's allowing you to play whenever you want, to trade whenever you want, and to earn every time that you win a match.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I guess I understand that you have quite a bit of traction. So I'd love to hear some numbers and understand kind of where the project is at the moment.
Sure. So we're up to about 45,000 registered users. We have somewhere around 7,000 daily active players. The game has been played more than 40 million times. Players have traded $1 million worth of cards back and forth with one another. Collectively, there's a couple ways to count it, but the secondary market for the cards is somewhere between $6 and $7 million. So that's what the players are trading all these cards on a market. If you add up all of that, it's about $6 or $7 million worth. We've done 3 different crowd sales. We just did a land, or we've been working on our land. Land is kind of a big thing for blockchain in particular. In our land, we think it's pretty cool. If you are a land owner, you're going to be able to mint new types of cards in the game. So right now you have summoners and monsters, and the summoner is kind of like a team coach, and the monsters are doing all the fighting. So the summoners and monsters are battling, and the whole thing is kind of a blind draft. So you'll know the rules, I'll know the rules, we'll know what teams are allowed, we'll know what the mana cap is for the match, and then we'll go through and pick our teams. And that's all blind. And we want to add this second round of combat, which is now items and spells. And when we determined that that's what we were going to do, we had to ask ourselves, well, how do you make the items and spells? Do we just sell another card pack? And we said, no, this is blockchain. We want to provide as much value back to the players as we can. So we said, what we're going to do? We're going to flip this. Selling card packs has been our revenue stream the entire time that we've existed. But we're crazy. We're going to go put that revenue stream in the hands of players. So, we want the players to be the ones that capture that value to really be like small businesses within our game, farming resources and crafting and doing all the things you would normally do in a game. But now you're actually minting things that have real world value because they can all be traded or rented or used to earn prizes. And so we think like this land piece to us is one of like the most hardcore crypto things we can think to do of, let's sell the land once, but then put all the power in the players to mint the cards and take advantage of that pretty unique ability. Most of the other like traditional games, if you try to mint your own cards, they'll throw you out of tournaments. They'll kick you out. They'll ban your account. And here we're like, what else can we do to give our players more and more power and ability and authority within the game?
That's exciting. So tell me a bit about sort of the blockchain technology. So, I understand from the inception of this that, from way back, this has been a Steem blockchain community. But I guess what I'd love to understand is kind of your mid to long-term perspective on the gaming blockchain platforms. And, how do you plan to navigate this kind of world of blockchain platforms?
Well, first off, let me thank you for asking that nicely. Most often people ask us, why didn't you morons just build on Ethereum? That's the common way to ask that style of question. And we really like Ethereum. Don't get me wrong. We stand on the shoulders of giants there. That platform and Vitalik's vision is fantastic. But it has a lot of scaling problems that lots of people know. So, I think if our short-term goal was simply just to go raise money, then it would have been a better play to go do this on Ethereum. You can definitely raise more money there. Their native token, I think, is what is it? It's 10,000 times bigger than the Hive blockchain that we're on. Just capital markets are so massively different compared to what we're doing. But even still, we're the #1 blockchain game that's out there, and I think it's because of
by which scale measurements?
So DApp Radar tracks this. They're the ones that kind of have like a ranking. It's usually by daily active accounts that are playing. So, I think Upland was the closest to us. That's by like 2,000 to 3,000 daily accounts playing, and we're up to 7,000 or something. It's just the main metric that the DApp sites track is users, because this whole thing is a network effect. There's nothing more powerful than getting people in here, which goes back to the question of why did we choose this crazy technology? Steem is best known for the blogging website Steemit, which is, it's a blog. You go and you post and you earn some rewards. Maybe people know it because Justin Sun did a 51% attack on the network. That's the kind of stuff that it's known for. It's certainly not, there's no smart contracts that are built there. So, we had to build from scratch this whole game, having different tokens. We've since built an exchange. We built a tool like MetaMask, and we did all this here. And it was a lot of work, and people have been scratching their heads about it for a while. But there's a couple things that are here that just aren't in other places. So the block time is 3 seconds. So some of these other blockchains, it might be like, 8 minutes, maybe even hours before you know that the block is resolved, which, if you're settling $100,000 transactions, maybe that's not a big deal. But if you're, playing a game, the expectation is, within a rough couple seconds, you should be able to know the outcome of things. So we have these 3 second block times. That's really important. It's also a freemium blockchain. And that means that there's no gas fees here. And with Ethereum, you have to pay gas. And as long as that's the case, it really limits who can use that network. It limits it to people that already have the Ethereum to pay the gas, which means now instead of trying to mainstream this to everybody, you're just trying to get market share of like DApp users on Ethereum, which is a pretty small number of people still. Like I know blockchain is growing and it's a very exciting space to be, but that's still a very niche market. Whereas if you don't have gas, Splinterlands has the ability to go onboard basically anybody. First-time users, they log in with a username and a password, and they can just start playing. And a lot of that blockchain stuff is invisible to them. And that goes back to we're on the Hive blockchain, which was a fork of Steem. It's because of this freemium model that Hive uses that we are able to do this in 3 seconds with fast transaction times. And actually, it turns out that whole blogging piece, which seems like an obscure thing to build off of, has actually been really helpful because our users will play and they'll attempt to earn by winning. And if they win, or if they have any cool strategies, they'll start blogging about it, and then they'll earn from blogging. So they kind of get to double dip on these things. So that to me is, I don't know, it's just, it has helped spread the word about our game. And I think it's been a big piece of why we've been able to grow as large as we have in still a very, very, very early market.
Yeah, that's exciting. So I guess one of the things that I'm interested to kind of get your perception on, though, is, what do you see in terms of the future of this? I do think that we've seen certain projects, for example, like CryptoKitties and Dapper, they pretty much rolled their own blockchain because they did hit these kind of hard limitations of gas prices on Ether, on Ethereum, and they did see obviously the performance related issues, and they were not in favor of the proposal to expand performance through sharding, right? So I think that there were definitely we're seeing people kind of straddling Ethereum and other things, but how do you see this playing out over time?
So I think we try to be blockchain agnostic here. So when we're putting transactions on the Hive blockchain, we put about 500,000 or 600,000 transactions per day on chain, and that's a ton. I mean, if we were doing that on Ethereum, that'd be millions of dollars every day spent by either us or the players, and that's not sustainable. So, but at the same time, if you don't have access to capital markets on Ethereum or the Flow blockchain, which is what Dapper is putting together, or these other or the other ecosystems, Wax has a really strong NFT market. To some extent, I tend to think of Hive as my hard drive, right? And a hard drive is an important part of a computer or a system, but it's not the only part. What we need as users, what we need are new eyeballs, what we need are hardcore players and collectors. And I think that we're going to find them in all of these ecosystems. And there's a little bit of competition between the blockchains in terms of who wants to be number one and how do we be the best, and my chain's the best chain. But honestly, like we welcome anybody in this crypto space. The goal here is to my personal goal, and I think it's weaved well into the company, is to spread peace, prosperity, and freedom. And I think blockchain is a really powerful tool to do that. And it doesn't have to be the Hive blockchain or the Bitcoin blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain only. I mean, I think all these tools that decentralize finance, that help celebrate and protect your freedom of speech, and that provide economic liberty between people all over the world. I think those are universal qualities of blockchain. And I think no matter how we grow as a company, for now, I think we'll keep posting our transactions on Hive and keep doing things like integrating Ethereum as a payment, integrating DAI as a payment, bringing other games like Gala, like Sandbox, and accepting their token for value, working with game credits, which is one of the older ERC20 game tokens. We just try to make as many friends and as many bridges as we can, and bring in as many different communities, regardless of what chain they're on or what tribe they're from. We just want to be blockchain agnostic, and I think that's the way that we'll get the most users and help invite as many new people into crypto and crypto gaming in particular as we can as a company.
What are the features that are, obviously you described an onboarding experience that's very kind of smooth and easy for non-crypto people, but, what are the kind of game features that make this more fun, more rewarding, more engaging experience? I'd love to, from a perspective of someone who's maybe new or hasn't played, like I'd love to get your feeling of what's enticing about this particular game.
So we have a couple different types of players, and there's different things that the community likes out of this experience. Some of them are here because of the trading aspect, and they like trading the NFTs. Some people have made an enormous amount of money just by trading cards. It's fascinating to watch. Other people are here, they like to own the cards and rent them. Some players like to just interact with the community. Some players really like the tournament system that we have. So there's not there, and some people just like play the game thousands of matches per week. There's not really like one way that players engage with us, and it's usually some combination of these various things. And some people just like blogging about the game or writing creative stories, or they'll, we have like a, a fan art display section, and people like crochet some of our characters as backpacks and things like that. It's a really creative community that engages in many different ways. From the game perspective itself, what we've tried really hard to do is give extremely easy steps to do something within the game. So when you're actually battling, you click a summoner and you click a couple monsters, and that's all you have to do. But the strategy behind how to do that best is an insanely rich, really complicated, and constantly changing and evolving dynamic environment. So, I think somebody that's familiar with trading card games looks at this and says, oh, that's a trading card game. I know exactly what this is. And then they get into it for 5 minutes and they're like, oh, wait, wow, this thing is really different than anything else I played. And that to me is a perfect spot to be in. I want it to be familiar enough so that they know what it is, and different enough that they're like, oh, this is not just a clone of Hearthstone. This is not just a clone of Magic or Pokemon. This is something really unique and different. And, in our case, we have these 3-minute matches, which I think are really good for the kind of internet generation that we have, with the attention spans we have, with the mobile gaming community that we have. A 3-minute match is really like picture perfect there. So it's fun. I think that we've built a engaging, rich game with lots of different financial aspects that our players get stoked about, and social aspects as well.
Fantastic. So I guess zooming back, right, to sort of like the big idea, like I'd love to kind of get your feeling for essentially the future of gaming, the future of this whole space. So I'd love to get your vision. How does this play out over the next years?
Well, I think CryptoKitties started that vision, and I don't think we'd be here if we hadn't seen them explode. Just the idea that you could do these collectibles digitally, it's a big deal. I printed a card game back in 2014, something like that, and I was looking around for places where I could just buy cards and then get them randomly distributed into packs. And unless you're going to do millions, and then if there's like a limit to how many millions you can do, it's actually really challenging to put together. But through this digital version, now you can sell collections of these cards or tokens and have them mean different things. They can have different authority. You can tie them into DeFi. You could tie them into crypto is just unlocking so many unique tools that really nobody on this planet has had access to before, like these last couple of years. And Ethereum is really leading that charge. But at the same time, it's getting tricky because like as DeFi explodes, all the transaction costs go up. And so figuring out how to do low-priced NFT things becomes really hard too. So I think there's some combination of technology that still has to come into existence, like just hardware and software and how the nodes work to make this stuff really super smooth. And then I think people are still really determining and inventing what this decentralized financial technology can do. I think we've barely scratched the surface. I know that we're like a decade in, but I stand on the shoulders of giants, and even I don't think I can see the horizon here. There's just a lot of, but what I do think will happen is that NFTs are going to start running everything. It's such a powerful tool to know ownership, to have history, to have this title or deed to something, have authority to do things electronically, to be able to trade it and track how much it's trading. there's just like NFTs are one of the most powerful things I think has ever been created. And I think that they're, in gaming in particular, I think it ends up being a one-way valve. So like, you know, in our game, people spend money and then they get these cards and they can trade the cards. So if they ever get sick of the game, they just sell other cards and leave. And in other spaces, you buy cards, but you don't actually own them or have the ability to trade them. They're just on a centralized server. And then when you're done, you're left with nothing. So I think as players start experiencing what it's like to actually have true ownership or some kind of digital ownership of the cards and in-game items, it gets really hard to go back and be like, all right, well, I don't care about that anymore. I'll go spend $2,000 over here and end up with nothing for it. That's fine. It doesn't impact me. I don't think that'll be the case. So if I have to make a single prediction, it's that blockchain and NFTs will be the basis of like just nearly all commerce on the planet, and that might be something like 10 or 15 years out. I think consumers will demand it.
I like this. You know, we talked with Jake Brookman from CoinFund, who you probably know, and he's an NFT. He's very much more into the art side of NFT, but he's very kind of an NFT genius. And, you know, for him, the thing that he sees is an entire what I would call intellectual property respectful internet, right? And obviously the thing that's so interesting is that the traditional, I think the key word there is internet. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that when we think about the idea of intellectual property, right, it sounds very kind of top down, right? It sounds like, oh, the record industry is like calling you up and you pirated their album and now they're going to fine you, you know, but like it isn't about that, right? In a sense, it's the same as this idea that some people talk about a privacy honoring internet, right? Which is that when you think about intellectual property honoring internet, like you're talking about everything having to do with media and having to do with art and having to do with expression, you know, and this idea that individuals are going to be able to control and they're going to be able to create mechanisms for controlling their ownership and their creativity and having a increased participation. And the reason why I emphasize the word internet is that, the internet has always been about kind of bottom up, right? It's always been about kind of the individual and, it's about the end nodes and how we can all connect and form something nice. So, I think what the vision you're describing is definitely, I think, an exciting vision and a very beneficial vision, right? You're talking about entertainment that connects with experiences of ownership, right? And
authority. Authority, yeah. I think, is really one of the key words there, because it's like, you get back to whether it's art or whether it's music or some kind of video or whatever it is, you can fine tune as the creator what rights are going to be associated with that. Do you get to play it? Do you get to trade it? Do you get to earn royalties? Do you get to sell it? Do you get to earn income off of it? What comes with this thing? And, in the standard version of this, there's not that much flexibility. So it's like, oh, this is what we offer. And these NFTs, which can have all these different properties and be publicly known and publicly checked and publicly accessed, now it's something different. Now it's like, here's the entire spectrum of how you might want to do commerce. And it's all pre-programmed into just owning this one thing, because that one thing will grant you all the keys and authority that you need. And I think it's gonna break down a lot of walls and make customizing your viewing, listening, sharing, and social internet experience way more tailored. And I think it all comes back to that word authority with these.
I really like that. I like that word authority, right? Because in a way, when you go back to the word authority, the first part of the word is author, right? So, in a way, it's this idea of kind of like, and the other concept is authorization, right? So like, so the authority is the one who authorizes things and who may also be the author of the thing, right? So in other words, it's sort of a world powered by creators who have the ability to confer rights, right? And when you kind of go back to the word authority, it sounds another word that it sounds authoritarian, but it isn't. Right. And the reason why I assert that it isn't is there's two aspects of this that are so important. One of which is that the authorities we're talking about are individuals. We're talking about any individual person who's whether an artist, creators,
right?
Yeah, creators.
You're the creator.
Absolutely.
The creator has ultimate authority, and they are delegating that authority to this token, which they are allowing you to purchase and use.
I love it.
So that, the creator gets to choose that authority.
Which is great. And it does link back to this word author rather than this kind of more like the Dark Lord Sauron type of vibe. It's much more kind of or even like Viacom, or this kind of like IP controlling company, which is a dark vibe, right? So I think it's exciting. And I think the other thing that's very interesting that has a similar root is this idea of like authenticity. Right, which is that the creator is the originator, and they create like authentic experiences. And I think authenticity becomes very important because I think on the current internet, the internet is based on copy paste anything, right? So anything can be copied and pasted, things can be falsified. The concept of like counterfeit makes no sense, right? Because it's like, well, everything's a copy, so there's no authentic anything. It's just copies. Everything's a copy. But it's like, what if everything were not a copy? Like I think that would change the internet a lot.
Or what if you had copies, but some copies represented actual authority and ownership? So like, yeah, sure, you could own that song and you could play it, but unless you own this NFT, you won't get any royalties off of it. So like now, sure, somebody is listening to it or playing it, but that's pretty different than actually generating revenue off of these things. You could have a copy of the art on one of the Splinterlands cards, but if you don't actually own the card and you can't use it in the game, you can't earn it. Or earn prizes by using it. So I think that I don't know. I'm totally convinced that NFTs they're just, the scope of what they can do is enormous. From granting rights to, but just the number of problems that they can solve. Any commercial website in the world that has little boxes that is showing you products, those could all be NFTs. Any dating site, those could be NFT profiles. Any listing like a Craigslist, that could all be NFTs. And all these things can have different levels of how you buy, sell, trade them, what authority is granted by owning them, history of who had it before. There's just so much that you can do with these the boomers that I talk to are like, blockchain is a solution looking for a problem. And I hear that all the time. And in my brain, it's like those folks just haven't gotten the scope of what this can do. It's everything that we've already done and built, but with way more detail, power, authority, tools. It's just like, you're trying to build a cathedral with a hammer, and the NFTs are going to go open up every tool in an artist's chest to help you do it instead. So I think the world is going to be recreated with blockchain and NFTs in particular, powering all of it.
That's fantastic.
Maybe not like U.S. military secrets, but outside of that, I just think consumers are going to demand it.
That's exciting, and it's a great vision, and it's an exciting future. So I guess one of the things that I'm curious about is obviously you're running a successful game company, you're the CEO and everything else, but have you had any time to dabble into like this DeFi phenomenon, and have you had time to look at these types of things very much?
Yeah, so Splinterlands has a treasury, and we do some DeFi with our treasury. Just
Great.
We use it too to inspire the game. For some of the land, we're thinking, how do we Splinterlands as we're evolving is really like gamified DeFi. And I know that might be hard for people to grasp, because what is DeFi and what is gamified? This is all jargon. It's all gibberish. But it's like, in traditional DeFi, if you own the thing, then you can do the thing. And in gamified DeFi, it's like, well, you have to own this, and then up to this level you can do it, but then you need that other thing plus this, and then you can do it. And it's like all these other little mini rules that we bake into it. And that's what our game is. It's all these kind of like blocks of these people can do this because they've achieved this, and you can do this because you've achieved this, and this is how much they can earn. This is how much you can earn. These are the tools that you can expand on. These are the the benefits that you get at these different levels. That's what that gamification process is. So I really think of our game as it's a gamified DeFi project, and we are constantly looking at what kind of innovation is out there. And then in my limited spare time, I also run like a small exchange built off of Hive, and I keep looking at, how are we going to be able to bring in DeFi smart contracts into that to help expand the offerings and what else is available here. And I think we're probably just a couple months away from that. So there should be, hopefully, on this freemium blockchain where you don't have hundreds of dollars of gas fees with any given transaction. Now you can do all this DeFi stuff, but it would be free. There's probably still small like exchange fees paid to liquidity providers, but not like $180 gas fees on top.
So do you have any kind of pocket picks with respect to DeFi projects, things that you like or things that are exciting for you these days?
Well, I'm still stuck on UNIswap just being one of the most powerful things that has ever been created, like period, bar none. The ability to exchange anything easily, like the just simple mathematics, the simple interface. Like I know that's kind of like a bread and butter answer, so maybe that's not quite as exciting as you would have hoped. But
no, it's terrific.
But so Splinterlands, when we do this land thing, we're going to have all these different magical resources. You'll have, natural resources. You're going to have ore you can mine and wood. You'll get lumber. You'll have magical resources, which are going to be like sparkstone and Ulana seeds and bottled storms. And we're already thinking about like, well, how do we build some kind of Uniswap protocol for that, or balancer style protocol, so that, our players can do exchange in and out of all these resources as rapidly and with some benefit to them as we go. So, we are looking constantly at some amazing innovation that comes out of primarily Ethereum and the smart contract developers on Ethereum. And we start thinking, how can we adapt the coolest parts of this to our game? And so, in the not too distant future, sometime in 2021, I think you'll see Uniswap style pools built into Splinterlands for all of our resources. And, maybe there'll be some, algorithmic stable coins that come into the game. And there's just like a million different neat ideas that these guys have built, experienced, poured billions of dollars into, taken billions of dollars out of, and we just get to look and, cherry pick what are the best ones that suit what we're doing. And we very much pay attention, and it's just an incredible landscape out there, and it changes like weekly.
Absolutely. And how do you see kind of new entrants like Sushi Swap or these kinds of variations that come along?
Sometimes I can be really aggressive, but on this stuff I tend to be a little bit more wait and see. I know that there's like 1,000 millionaires that have already been made on these things, and 1,000 millionaires that have lost the status because of it. And I'm still, even though I'm in this space and live it daily, I'm still trying to figure it all out, like a lot of people, and know what makes these projects really good, what makes them likely to succeed. And so I'm still poking around. At the end of the day, I really think it really comes down to network effect, and it comes down to liquidity. And those are they're just so powerful that even subpar technology, if it has a lot of users and it has a fair amount of capital built into it, can still outpace even something better, because you have to build that network effect. So as long as the network effect and as long as the liquidity is in Uniswap, then that would be where my brain goes to. That doesn't mean that there aren't fantastic opportunities elsewhere. It's just that, you know, the king is the king, and it's hard to, you know, it's risky when you start moving away from it. So, so there's value in the risk, and there's also, you know, risk of loss in those rug pulls and all these other things that happen daily in crypto. It's still very much the Wild West out here, and you know, in some ways that's breathtaking, and in other ways it's a gut punch. So
yeah, absolutely agree. It's great.
We got to be careful, but there's tons of opportunities. But to me, you know, I think it presents neat opportunities. But I, you know, if I'm going to interact somewhere, I'm still going to interact where the liquidity is biggest and the network effect is strongest.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great guidelines, you know, and I think you're absolutely right. The network effects definitely supersede just about everything, just because they're exponential in nature. So, you know, I think that's what makes these things take off. Well, yeah, you know,
micro changes in the technology isn't going to do it. It's not going to be enough. You know, you have to have something kind of game changing or really substantial that one helps you build your own network effect and your own, you know, liquidity within these exchanges and DeFi projects. But I think incremental changes aren't going to be enough to unseat the king.
Cool. So you're my first basically guest in the show since the beginning of the year. So, you know, I'm wondering what your thoughts are about 2021. Do you have any kind of predictions or anything about, you know, what's going to happen in either blockchain or blockchain gaming?
So, you know, one of the advantages that I have that other people don't is looking at, we have a business in crypto, and we have customers in crypto. And a lot of people have users and things, but they don't have a lot of customers. We have customers. So I'm staring at my customer dashboard for people that have purchased cards and credits from us today. And one of the things that I'm seeing is the overwhelming majority of people in January are spending US dollars rather than cryptocurrencies to purchase game credits and cards and whatnot.
Awesome.
So, so that gives me some insight into what is the consumer thinking. And normally you spend the currency you think is weakest or going to perform the worst.
Gresham's law.
People are shorting the dollar and longing crypto right now. So the other thing that I'm seeing, that's just the number of decisions that they're making. The other thing that I've noticed is January is typically a pretty slow month for us. But within the first 4 or 5 days here, I'm on track. Let me see. So in 3 days, I'm at a quarter of what I did all month in January. So if that continues, this is going to be by far the strongest January in company history, which is only, you know, it's only 2. We've only had 2 in the past, but like this is going to blow them out of the water. And so rather than give you my gut feel of how things are going to go, I'd rather give numbers. And the numbers that I'm seeing for my consumers are, or I'd rather give evidence, you know, out of roughly the 40 purchases that are over $25 just in the last 24 hours, I think 35 of them used US dollars and 5 of them used crypto.
Wow.
So people are very long on crypto and very short on dollars. And then for just the volume, we're kind of killing it for the first 4 days here. And if that trend continues, like Splinterlands will probably double, if not triple, both revenues and user base, you know, maybe even before the halfway through the year or something. It looks like it's gonna be an incredible year.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And I'm really glad to hear about this. So, you know, from my limited standpoint, one of the things that we're always seeing is that we're seeing that gameplay is almost always one of the earliest adopters of new technology. So, people just want to check it out, and they want to try to check it out in an environment where, they feel like safer and they feel like it's more experimental, right? So in a way, I feel like it's fun, right? Yeah, absolutely. So they, because the thing that's funny is people have like whatever it is that they do all day, every day for their livelihoods, and in a sense, like they have limited free time, right? So, in a sense, like who has the time to check out every newfangled technology that kind of comes along, So, and obviously what's happening now is that, more and more and more people are becoming aware of how serious Bitcoin is and what a serious thing it is. And people are starting to wake up and be like, I need to learn about this. I need some mechanism to like get into this. And, and maybe it's, I think for a lot of people got into technology at all through gaming, like almost all of the famous blockchain leaders got into computing just as a function of playing games, and so like, why not have gaming be a gateway for the blockchain as well? So, I definitely see that.
That's the entire premise of the company. I mean, it's a Trojan horse for blockchain. It is, come for a fun game and stay for a life-altering crypto experience. That's what I think that we do. I think we're very good at converting new people that are like, know nothing about blockchain. We've done everything we can to make it like a Web 2.0 experience. So it's just username and password. You don't even have to get your wallet or any of that stuff set up. And then you go into it. And over time, we start giving you more and more access to the blockchain. And you always have the access. But players, on day one, when they have $5 worth of cards, they don't care. But, a couple months in and they realize like, wow, I own $400 worth of cards. I need my keys. I need to protect this. I need to go to exchanges. I need to move money around. And it's like, we try to make it as simple as possible on day one and give as much flexibility by like month one. And we see that progression happen quite frequently. I guess the other thing I'd note about when I'm staring at my daily revenue stream is that the number of players that I'm seeing that I don't recognize. So, we got a Discord with like 6,000 players in it, and I'm in there all the time, and I'm seeing these guys day in, day out. And when I look at who's purchasing, I'm seeing brand new names all the freaking time. That to me is really healthy. But I think a lot of that is, one, Splinterlands is growing and we are being successful. But two, I just think that this is also very much overall market of brand new humans are coming into blockchain. And I'm seeing that in the list of people that are purchasing, where I'm like, this is a fun day. I don't know any of these people. That's great for business when it's all these new hands coming in to purchase, because they're new players, and the new players have friends and they're going to tell their friends. And, that's the network effect, and I'm seeing it in the list of purchasing accounts. So, I don't know, just in terms of 2021, I just feel like this is going to be, it's going to be like 2017 on steroids, but for different reasons. And, we're seeing institutional investors coming in. We're seeing, the boomers are coming in. They want to know about blockchain, and they're asking their kids. And, the boomers are the ones that have all the money. So we're seeing like retail investors that are like the serious investor class coming in. I don't know. We're seeing $30,000 Bitcoin. I mean, literally every single star is aligning to make this just a absolutely massive, knock it out of the park kind of year.
I love it. Any thoughts about kind of geographic distribution of your player base? So, where are you seeing people these days?
Well, we're in 142 countries, and we're in 8 different languages. So we have players all over the world. A lot of us are United States based, but we have a very healthy population in Europe, in Asia, Australia. Really, the only area that's not well represented at all is Africa. But we have a pocket of Venezuelans. Some of our players are like really rich humans that like to own the cards, but then they rent them. And the people that they'll tend to rent them to, like, we have a giant community out of Venezuela, and they're renting cards to earn, and they will make more money as like a Splinterlands player than they might as like a doctor in Venezuela.
Wow.
And I've heard that story a number of times from our players that are like, yeah, I mean, I can't earn an actual living as a doctor in this country. I earn more playing a rented deck as a Splinterlands player than I do as a medical professional. So
yeah, that's amazing.
So I feel like we're doing good out in the world, along with just being a pretty fun and addictive game. You know, we're bringing people into crypto and we're creating economic opportunity that otherwise wouldn't exist for folks all over the world.
I dig it. I think, you know, obviously it's great to kind of provide some economic stimulus to lots of people, you know, who aren't, you know, through any fault of their own, they're not in a particularly strong economic, you know, whether it's their government or country, you know, so it's great. It's great to kind of level the playing field and have a global internet product.
And blockchain is so good at that. I mean, I don't know any other tool that crosses these boundaries and doesn't care about race, gender, ethnicity, religion, whatever. It's, you know, it's just two pseudo-anonymous people hanging out on the internet with some trustless contracts interacting with each other. I mean, it's an incredibly powerful and liberating technology.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, good. This has been a terrific tour through Splinterlands. You know, I definitely encourage people to pick it up and check it out. It's definitely one of these leading entertainment experiences in blockchain. So, you know, I think it's definitely worth a look for everyone, both blockchainers and gamers alike, and maybe people who even aren't even blockchainers or gamers, you know, but, you know, it's definitely an exciting time. And I want to encourage people to, you know, play, right? Because it's a new year. You know, ideally at the beginning of a new year, people should be open to new experiences. And I think that blockchain should absolutely be an experience that people should be open to this year and you know, and beyond. So, you know, I think it's a great way to get your head into it and to really start to kind of understand what the capabilities are of this technology.
And just one type of scale, there are days that we'll have as many transactions between players on the secondary market. We'll have more NFT volume in our game than all of Ethereum does on a particular day. So,
fantastic.
You know, that we can get days where we're doing like 20,000 NFTs all in the same day. So,
I love that.
So that hopefully that gives you a size or scope or scale of just how many people are playing and how much activity there is. And I don't know. So one of the best parts of our game is our community. So for your listeners, I'd encourage them, if they want to play, go to splinterlands.com. But you're missing out if you don't go to discord.splinterlands.com and just meet the guys, meet the people that are playing, hang out with the crew. They're really charming. It's a really good, like, I don't know. Most of the internet is toxic and nasty. I feel like we have one area of the internet that's actually filled with good-hearted people, a really nice community. We understand that we all go to the same moon when these projects succeed. So the community is really good about welcoming new people. So if you're new and trying to figure out blockchain or gaming or both, Splinterlands is a great place to just dip your toe in the water. And that community is just a wonderful group of humans that will help you in your journey.
I really appreciate that. And I think one of the things that everybody does understand who's delved into gaming is that various game communities all have slightly different qualities, you know, and there's a different average age, there's sort of a mentality, right? And then there's a prevalence of, like, you know, because sometimes there's like griefing and trolling and, you know, there's all kinds of behaviors, right? But if you look at a game like Splinterlands, like, you know, this idea of something like inting, right, where you're intentionally playing to lose, like, nobody's going to do that. These are like NFT assets that are worth money, right? So, like, you know, people are all going to be, and I think the other thing that may gravitate towards this being kind of a proper community is absolutely that the community interest is what you describe, right? So in a sense, like, I think in a lot of free-to-play games, people exploit anonymity by basically just being atrocious, right? They're basically just like, well, I'm just going to be a horrible person and be extremely toxic because why not? Like I have impunity, right? Whereas I kind of feel like what's happening to a community that's collected around blockchain based assets is they're just driving people away from the asset and they're deflating the value of the asset. Yeah. They're kind of ruining everything for everyone. And I kind of feel like the community would regulate someone like that. Like the community would take action. They would be like, they would just be like,
hurting my token value.
Yeah, like exactly. Get lost and stay lost, right? Like this is not for you. Like go away. Like
our guys get it, and
that's nice.
They know that the heart of that is welcoming new players into the ecosystem. So people show up in our Discord. They say, "Hey, I'm new here." Maybe they say, "Oh, I was on MikoBit's show and I was listening to that, so I showed up." And like there will just be a ton of players that are like, all right, what's your account name? Let me give you a couple cards to get you started. Let us know if you have strategy problems or if you can't connect or, nodes and all this other stuff that you got to get used to. Let us know and we'll help out. And they're just phenomenal like that.
Well, I love it. Well, that's
they'll also rip me a new one. So like, it's not like they're just like this passive group. These guys are brutal, but it's mostly towards me. And just making sure
they
that
just
the
want
game
it
is good.
To be better, right? They just want this place that they're investing their time into. They want it to be great, right? They want it to be as good as it can be.
They earn it with their play. They earn it by purchasing the cards, and I try to honor that and recognize that the players get to have a say, and there's room to say whatever they want, and they usually realize that the delivery of that matters. So it's in our community, you can kind of say whatever you want, but you just have to be slightly mindful of your delivery. And with that in mind, I feel like we've built this great community. We all go to the same moon. And just if you need like a really solid group of people to hang out with on the internet while you're just getting your 3 minutes in a day or playing in a guild or doing something, this is about as good of a crew as I've ever found.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm definitely going to, when I post the video, I'll definitely drop a link in the Discord. And, if people want to use this to encourage or invite new players to kind of understand a little more about, you and about like what this is about and why you're doing this. And, all of this is kind of like in some ways the bigger purpose of the show, right? Which is there's a lot of faceless crypto projects, and in a way, like people want to meet the founders and they want to talk with them and they want to get a feeling of like, why is this person doing this? And, do they have a good heart and do they have a good intention? And are they really committed and dedicated? And, I think that if they watch this, they're going to get a good feeling from you in regards to those things.
Thank you.
So, appreciate it.
I feel like we're a very mission-driven company. We're here to spread peace, prosperity, and freedom. Blockchain is the best tool set to do that. And gaming is the ultimate Trojan horse to bring people in. And so we have a responsibility to build the most fun game that we can. And ultimately, if we're successful, we'll see the number of hands in crypto rise. We'll see the number of players in our game rise. And, we'll shift the dynamics of how people choose to interact and how their speech is protected and, how we treat one another. And it's a better world out there, I think, as we further grasp deeper and deeper into the crypto community.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate it very much. And, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me on, Miko. It's
okay.
Good to chat. And thanks for having me here.
Yep. We'll be in touch.